Hello, my name is Alan, and today I'm facilitating, I'm losing track. I think this is the third of 8. By the time I get past 5, I'll have no idea. The third of 8 sessions of Uncharted Worlds. We're playtesting the existing draft 2nd edition rules where we have them. That means that there's a bit of jiggery-pokery around the edge of those rules, but we're keen to see how they run. This game, like all of my games really, was organized as part of the Gauntlet online gaming community's monthly calendar. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, please do search Gauntlet-RPG and come see us. And you might want to put a date in your diary for the weekend of the 24th of March, which is our next Gauntlet Community Open Gaming weekend. That's a kind of free con for anyone to sign up for games. So check out the Gauntlet website, check out Gauntlet Twitter, which I think is Gauntlet, but you might want to check that. And that'll give you a heads up when Gauntlet Community Open Gaming opens for bookings, so to speak. And if you like what we do, then the podcasts and the publication of codex and the increasing activity of the publishing arm, then please consider backing the Patreon. But for now, all I need to remind our players and any of our thousands of viewers is that we're playing with a set of layered safety tools. We're playing with lines and veils. We're playing with the X card, where a line or a veil doesn't quite cover what happens. We're playing with the open door, which means that if stuff happens in the real world, we'll step away. Or if this turns out not to be the game that you hoped it would be, the open door is there. Don't waste time sitting, playing a game nobody enjoys. We'll also be using a debrief technique at the end called Stars and Wishes, just to get a handle on what went well and what could go better, or what people might want to see. And we're also playing, of course, within the Gauntlet community code of conduct, which I sometimes summarize as "don't be a dick." But I've played with these players many times, and that's not an issue. We are missing one of our regular players because something has come up in real life for him. So this is a curtailed crew, but I'm sure that they will provide entertaining activity over the next hour or two. So that's my pitch. Let me then ask the players to say hello and introduce their characters. Let me go left to right. So Gray, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Riley Perihelion.
Hi, my name is Gray. I use they, them pronouns, and I will be playing Riley Perihelion, who is a former science celebrity who is now hoping to find the next big science thing, especially if it has something to do with this freaky theory about how slipstream works.
Exactly so, the leaky slipstream, and we might get to see Riley doing some stuff in a wormhole in a bit. Joe, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Gema.
Good morning, afternoon, evening. I think that covers us all. Hi, my name is Joe. He, him. I am playing Gema, who is a sort of an AWOL member of a military order called the Order of the Obsidian Angels. And so she is kind of on the run and kind of a badass, but sometimes maybe a little too much of one. And so I'm looking forward to my cramped quarters role to see if we explore that a little more. So
great. Yes, and yes, so you're AWOL. So currently you count as having betrayed the Order of the Obsidian Angels. At the minute, Riley, you are still expressing a degree of loyalty to the central organizing committee of your homeworld. So you've got some debts to call in that you owe them, but also a favor that they owe you. And because of what happened last time, you are in shit with the Syndicate. We are playing across a group of 7 star systems called the Cluster, and the Syndicate has long reach. Maybe we'll discover how long as play proceeds. So that's our setup. We at the end of the last episode, you got what you wanted from a crime boss on the desert planet of Oasis, and zoomed away into the wide blue yonder in your shuttle to get back to the Ace of Spades, your ship. And we need to work out where you're going next in terms of traveling through one of the several slipgates, stabilized wormholes that are not of human construction, or not known to be of human construction. They predate spaceflight in the cluster. So, which gate? There are 3 gates in the Archivin system. One goes to Ferrin 50, one goes to Iota B7, and one goes to Helicon. Riley, what is Riley proposing?
Well, I think we should have her Helicon.
Because
Ferrin 50 just seems like too much of a risk.
Tell me why.
Well, since the syndicate, we're on the syndicate shit list right now, and that's the sort of heart of the syndicate. So why borrow trouble?
Yeah, I mean, there was a suggestion in the pre-game chat that maybe hide in plain sight in Ferrin 50, but Gema, what about you? Are you following that logic?
Yeah, and out of character, I would have thought it would have been fun to go to Sure Shot's homeworld, but I agree with everybody that we need to wait for Pavel to be here for that.
I agree.
So I think by default, I do tend to agree. I was that we probably have. It's probably the safest bet too. And I don't know. Do we again out of character, Alan? Are we like some of the other games like Uncharted World? Would we try to take on some sort of cargo or something, so it's not like a dead run? And so if we did do that, the hub probably would be the most or the easiest. There's probably lots of stuff to be able to take to the hub. So
well, taking to the hub is going to be a problem, because if you don't really have the option to hang around on Oasis to look for cargo.
That is true.
So my assumption is that you're doing a dry run from Oasis, from the Archivin system, but then that maybe will put some pressure on you to find a job when you arrive in the Helicon system, because currently you are vaguely in the green, so to speak, in the category of wealth called scraping by. You have barely enough to keep flying, and you often have to make sacrifices and compromises in your day-to-day. Food is bland and rationed, there's little spare power, and your gear is rough but serviceable. So, you will need to start earning something, I think. You got lucky last time, in a sense, because you did a couple of local jobs, but you need to keep that in mind. Yeah, certainly. So, as you approach the slipgate to the Helicon system, we know that each of these gates has a stabilized kind of refueling stroke motel stroke fuel hub not far away. But you're fueled up, you're ready to go. You fueled up on the way in. So Riley, I think I'm going to come to you and say, what does entering a slipgate look like or feel like?
So, it starts out, you're sort of queuing in line because it's all very organized. But once you're ready to go through, when you're outside the slipgate, you can't see anything on the other side. It just looks like blank space. But as you accelerate into it, there's immense forces placed on the ship that slip-capable ships have special dampeners to deal with. And then, there's sort of like weird lights that you can see. No one's really sure what they are.
And then you're in the wormhole. Yeah, I mean, that's neat, because I think there's that lovely shot, isn't there, as the ship just begins to align and drifts across into the horizon of the slipgate, and the stars that we've been seeing just disappear. Lovely. Gema, once you're in the wormhole, it does because normal physics works outside. We don't have anti-gravity, so you maintain a thrust, and it's all very hard physics of having to flip the ship over and slow down halfway on your way to somewhere. It's all very hard. But do the rules of physics change when you're inside this tunnel, this for want of a better word, wormhole?
Right. Yeah, that's
I mean, they needn't. I'm just putting it on the table.
yeah, no. I actually have been reading to keep myself in the right mood. I've been reading a lot of sci-fi right now, and there are a lot of different takes on this, right? I think for the most part they are the same, but I think that they're, if we were to call this slip space, the space in between, this, or it's kind of the space in between, right? I would say that it's for the most part normal, except that you can experience kind of like strange, like you see things out of the corner of your eye that might not be there, right? Or there's just occasionally there are some, and I think that it affects us, not like dramatically, right? But like that it can be a little off-putting, because like we're not supposed to be there, right? It's like that's not our natural dimension, state of place of being, right? So I think there's just a little bit of a offness to it while you're in it. So.
Oh, I love that. You just invented slip ghosts. And of course that just breeds stories about ships that enter through a slip gate, never leave it, and that the ghosts are the people who didn't get out. Oh, brilliant. I like this. Okay. Each journey through the slip gate takes about a week. And that will routinely be where our cramped quarters kick in. So if you have a look at basic moves, cramped quarters, when you undertake a journey between locations trapped in the same tight confines for days on end, roll 2d6. Roll with disadvantage if supplies are low or tensions are high. I don't think it's that bad in terms of supplies, so I'm not applying disadvantage for that. But do either of you have a downtime bonus move or anything else that applies in this circumstance?
So Gema does, because of her isolated background. If she rolls where it's choosing a crewmate, either on a 7 or 9 or 6 minus, she can actually choose herself, and then explore her own if she so chooses. So.
Okay, so let's start with Gema then. Rolling 2d6 flat. The dice room link is in the lines and bales tab, I think.
Yep. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second.
No problem.
Okay. Get this over here. It's flat with no modifiers, right?
No modifiers at all.
7.
On 7 to 9, choose a crewmate or yourself, as you've just described. Describe a positive moment with them. They get to ask about an aspect of your person, or you get to, your burden or your beliefs. Answer truthfully. One of you recovers. You choose. So you've got the option. You can have this conversation with Riley, or we can see, maybe we see a flashback of you, what you're considering yourself. I don't know. Go with it.
And so on a 7 to 9, that's going to be, even if it's a flashback, that might be a somewhat positive, where on a 6 minus is when it would be, is where we get negative. I will, I'll choose Riley.
Okay.
Right.
So let's have that scene then. Where on the ship is this? Because we know it's cramped and is this in the bunks area, or is this?
Well, so I think that once the ship is underway into the slip space, it does not require the same you know,
Piloting.
Micromanagement and stuff. So maybe there was sort of a lounge area, right? Like a little canteen or something so I think maybe we're just hanging out in that lounge space.
Yeah, the lounge space is the corridor outside the 2 bunk rooms.
Yeah.
Because there's a microwave built into the corridor wall, so it's pretty miserable, but it's the best you got.
And so I think a little bit of is Gema is opening up a little bit just in general, because the both Riley and Harper they'd helped her, right? We did this thing together, right? And she's been used to kind of being on her own and not trusting people, and so that I think is where maybe she would have isolated herself normally. Maybe she's kind of come out from what I say that one time when she hangs out in the breaching pod or whatever, right? She's kind of come out of the breaching pod and is being social in her own way. So,
Riley, what do we see in your bit of this interaction then?
I think Riley's been spending a lot of their time sort of messing about with sensors and stuff, but has come down to the microwave to like microwave a lunch ration, and is surprised to see Gema out.
So you get to choose. Do you want to say anything specific? But do you want to have the conversation, Joe, between Gema and Riley, or just that kind of description?
Yeah, it sounds like based on the move, Riley will get to ask for essentially, dig into one of those, what is it, personality, burden, beliefs, something like that. So, and I have to answer truthfully. So, not that I wouldn't. I'm in the mood to answer truthfully. So,
what does Riley want to dig into?
I think I am going to ask about your past. So I think how this happens is, we're like having our bland rations, and get to talking about food and, what foods we had as kids. And so I ask, well, I hope you don't mind it. If this is too personal, Gema, feel free not to answer. Like, were you in the order since you were like a baby? Or did you grow up somewhere else first?
I grew up on, I apologize, what's my Narcissus? On Narcissus. I was part of a creche. Is that the right way to pronounce that? I thought so, but then since we're being filmed, that felt amazingly embarrassing if it was not. So she's part of a creche, and had we ate much the same as we're eating now. I lived a very Spartan life. We were hardened from the earliest of ages to be prepared for anything, to live with nothing, to survive in the unsurvivable. And we would go, they would leave us in the as a creche. They would leave us in the wilderness of Narcissus, the deserts of Narcissus, and if we lived, that meant we were worthy of living. And
oh wow.
And if we did not, then that was as it should be. The leaders of the individual creches, so I have come to turn this into the Order of the Obsidian Angel. They're all women. The warriors are all female. it's kind of evolved to that in my head. And the creche leaders we would refer to them as mother, right? They were, almost like I'm almost like mother superiors, right? It's like mother, so she had a very brutal, harsh, but there were, with your creche mates, there were, those that, bonds were formed and such. But yeah, she had a very brutal, hard, kind of Spartan life.
That is a very dark take on Wonder Woman, as I just put in the chat. Yeah, I'm glad you made the point about the women, because we last time saw a couple of sisters, but we know that there are men, but it looks like they do the ancillary supporting, because we had a guy who was connected to the order, who was trucking some stuff. So yeah, I like that. I think that there are men in the order, but they are ancillary, supportive, technical, whatever. But they're not the tip of the spear. Oh, I like that. That was great. One of you recovers, and this now recovery is either erase a point of stress, or you can repair a piece of gear that is damaged. And looking at Gema's sheet, I don't think there's anything wrong with any of your assets, your gear, but you are currently sitting on 2 stress. Or do you help Riley repair the camera drone?
Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. I think the conversation just turns to, Riley has her, she's like fiddling. I think Riley is always fiddling with something, right? From a technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's always fiddling, and so she's been, and I think as we're talking, that bond, she opens up and she kind of just scoots over and starts helping her, with the pieces and parts, right?
I'm curious, Riley, how does, because Gema is not by nature particularly technical. So how does Gema provide any help in fixing the camera drone?
I think maybe Riley's gotten like sort of, I don't know, it's distracted or something. It was like, oh, I'm sure it's this one connector here. And it's just like, I can't figure out how to make that one connector where, it's like, but did you see this, like this huge dent on the other side?
Yeah. So the scientist is tightly focused, but Gema says, should that dent be there? Lovely. So you can untick the box next to the camera drone. The camera drone is fixed.
Excellent.
And let's go to your cramped quarters. Now you could either build on from that, depending on which way this goes, or you can set a scene of your own. So go ahead, Riley. Yours is again just a straight flat roll, I think.
All right. Okay, I have rolled 9.
So choose a crewmate. Now, again, we don't have much option here, but it needn't be the same scene.
Right.
But I think we are stuck with it being the only crewmate we've got on screen at the minute.
Yeah. Trying to think.
Would it help if Joe suggested what Gema is interested in terms of past personality burden, blah?
Sure.
And then you could set a scene around that point of interest.
Sorry. Yeah. So I think if it's okay, like we can just continue sort of like as this sort of moment continues, and we're sharing and whatnot, and I think Gema will kind of point to your little like you'd kind of indicated that you were always kind of video blogging everything, right? You know, you had a little thing and just asks, you know, what is all the, you know, why do you do this? What is, you're always talking to that thing and recording. Why do you do that?
Well, you know, it got to be a habit starting with my first, it was actually a asteroid exploration show at first. The committee allocated me a tiny little ship and sent me out to go poke at rocks in the outer system. You know, just seeing if they had water. It was useful, which is why they allocated any resources to it. But yeah, it was also broadcasting it back to the kids on the wheel. Like, hey, kiddos, this is ice. We can harvest it, and then we'll have water to drink. Yeah, at this point, it's just been a habit. But my entire adult life, I've been talking to the cameras.
I like that. Do you want to go any further with that, Gema?
I don't think so.
No, that's fine. Then one of you recovers, Riley. You choose.
Well, I don't have anything left to recover, so I think Gema should fix one of those points of stress.
How? What do we see you doing? I mean, now stress is plot armor in the sense that it could be, you know, bruising, straight, you know, stuff like that, or it could just be a bit on edge. So you tell me, Riley, how do we see you helping put Gema right or more right?
If you're struggling with that, I have an idea. So, but it's your move. So,
my half idea was maybe I'm like, you know, since Riley sort of like likes to dress kind of nice, that maybe I like sort of like fix up your jacket and like here let's take a selfie.
Fine, I like that. Reduce stress by 1 for Gema. I'm going to reduce Harper's stress by 1 because you know, Pavel's not here, but I think he's going to get some kind of recovery. He would have got some kind of recovery out of that. I'll write him a love letter for next time, just for his return. So that's how the week in slip space passes. You pop out the other side in Helicon, and what's clear is, you know, there was, you know, maybe there were 1 or 2 ships heading towards the slipgate at the Archivin end, but when you pop out into space on the Helicon, it's kind of, you know, the sensors just light up. You know, there are ships all over the place, arriving, queuing to depart. So what's the plan? Is the idea to head to Helicon, or is this just a stopping point and you want to move on from Helicon to somewhere else? Gema, what's your thinking?
Well, I think, you know, Gema, you know, being ever the utilitarian, is, you know, I think we've got to find, you know, our supplies are getting low, you know, I think we ought to, you know, we need to find a job, you know, maybe we can, I mean, here at the nice thing about the hub basically connects to every system. So, you know, maybe we could pick up some cargo or something, and maybe something kind of chill too, right? You know, our you know, maybe just a simple milk run or something, that and Alan's smiling because there's never such thing as a simple milk run, but in our heads there's a simple milk run, but something, you know, I think we ought to, you know, I think at least Riley and Harper for sure would probably be more aware, and maybe Gema too, of where they might go to find a job, right? So I'm assuming there's whether it's some sort of like official place where, you know, you can go to do that, or even if there are cantinas or pubs or whatever where the pilots hang out and people kind of organically, you know, get their, you know, get jobs hooked together, whichever, you know, there's got to be something like that we would be aware of, I'm assuming.
Okay, so what I'm going to suggest is that after refueling at the slip station, which is the one we saw before was grimy, grubby. This is a very polished. You know, it's a spinning wheel. It's made up of the same subunits as all the ships are, but it's chromed and it's busy and it's thriving. So what I'm going to, if you go to the ship and wealth, what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase your single green benefit from last time, but I'm going to put a line through your refuel and resupply. Sorry, wrong one. What I meant to do was to say you do not need to worry about refuel and resupply. You are refueled and resupplied. And then move the Ace of Spades into a parking orbit. There's probably around hub, there'll be dozens of different orbital stations that you can dock the Ace at. And because we're keen to see, this is by way of a travel log in many respects, this series, we've said we want to see different planets. So I think we're going to take the shuttle down to the surface of hub. And the surface of hub, what we've said about hub is aspects, hooks, locations, the gleaming corporate towers of Hub City, and the neon washed alleys of the Undercity. So I guess we cut to the shuttle putting down on a landing pad, maybe in the middle city, because you don't have a lot. You know you can't afford the best landing pads, so you found somewhere to put it down. It then becomes a question of finding a job. I think that there are two ways to come at this. If we check out the ship, when it says something under hospitality, when you put the word out and or look for a job, the key question is legal or illegal. It would be logical there'll be a way to get a legal job in the gleaming towers of Hub City, and an illegal job will probably require a trip down to the neon washed alleys of the Undercity. But the jobs that are available to a crew with your reputation are a local job, a cargo or passenger run, bounty hunting, or a risky scheme, which is worth a handful of money. Buckets of it. Cargo pods full of money. So, what are we thinking? Riley, legal, illegal? Illegal pays more.
It's certainly likely to be interesting. And
illegal it is. What is Gema thinking about the kind of job you're looking for? But clearly, the more costly, the more enriching, the more risky. Yeah, logical.
Yeah, I think I don't know why this popped into my head, but I'm just going to go with it. I think she would shy away from bounty hunting unless absolutely. I don't think she would not do it, but I think that would be something that she would see as a last resort. I think some of it is there's a little bit of a, I don't know what, for whatever reason in character, I think she finds that distasteful, but will do it if, I just don't think they're not quite in desperate enough. I don't think we're in desperate enough straits to where she would be willing to, and I'm okay, Riley, with a risky scheme, but I'm also thinking we're also not, I kind of feel like that might be something we would do if we're in more desperate straits. But again, your and Harper's, that's kind of relative, right? You know, Gema comes from a place where eating, you know, the equivalent of like MRE rations and stuff like that is normal and stuff. So to Harper and Riley, we may be more, desperate. So I think outside of bounty hunting, I think she'd be open to kind of whatever. So
that makes sense. I think in terms of like rations and privation, like the place that Riley comes from has very limited resources. Well, it's not as brutal as Gemma's upbringing, like the idea that like, well, there's not quite enough food and it's all processed rations. Like that's just
Well,
normal.
it's like a collective, right? You're where
Yeah.
like a, you know, where, hey, here's your job, right? And here's your resources. And it's very,
Yeah.
like they very tightly allocate stuff. I definitely think if Pavel was here, he would, and I mean, he kind of is here, right? Like Harper's with us.
Yeah.
So I definitely think he would always be pushing us towards the risky scheme
Yeah.
sort of thing. Right? And so I want to honor the fact that that voice is probably there off camera a little bit as well. So
I like that. I like that. I suppose that the question is what. He's not here, so I think we'll hold off on a risky scheme until next time. It sounds like either something local on somewhere in the Helicon system or on Hub itself, or you're looking for cargo or passengers.
right, and I don't know, Riley, if there's any, you know, you kind of did a little expose thing, right, last time, and you know, because I know you're interested in, to some degree, in you know, fixing your reputation, or and if I'm getting that's kind of like the vibe I get a little bit. So I don't know, maybe if there's a job that would allow us to go back towards your home world, if there would be any motivation for Riley to, after having done that, maybe to go back. Just throwing it out there, you know, versus a local job, if there was some motivation in character for you there.
I think Riley does like exploring new places, and a cargo run would let us go somewhere. Like there's probably less freaky science to see here in the city.
I like that. I like that. So yeah, so let's have you. I think this is more likely to be Riley than Gemma in terms of actually doing the legwork to get this job. So if I'm right, this is cargo or passengers, and the preference was for illegal because it earns a bit more. Yeah, okay. Then let's cut to.
Let's just say no imperial involvement. Entanglements, is that the right way of saying that?
No imperial entanglements. Love it, love it. So let's cut to the neon washed alleys of the Undercity. Yeah, you know, down here, the wind rarely blows. It is humid. The condensers are often leaking. So this is Blade Runner's streets, I think, in my mind's eye. And there is almost certainly a bar that discreet inquiries lead you to, Riley. Is Gemma, I'm assuming Gemma's with you, but I don't want to jump to that assumption. Gemma, are you along for the ride while Harper sits at home watching the shuttle? Because he would steal anything. He's convinced that the shuttle shouldn't be left here. So let's have you roll hospital. When you put the word out, you're after an illegal passenger or cargo run. Let's have you roll with hospitality, which is a straightforward +1.
All right. That's a 9 + 10. 9 + 1 is 10.
Oh my! So on it, you get the job and the legality you wanted.
Nice.
Would your preference be for cargo or for passengers?
Cargo, I think.
Okay. Yeah, a shifty guy called Marv. Marv is interested to shift a cargo from Helicon. Let me ask you, where do you want to go next? I asked Riley about the what. Let me ask Gemma, where do you want to go from Helicon? Because you could go just about anywhere except Narcissus.
In honor of, you know, because I don't think Gemma really cares. She just, wants to live her own life. I think that's Gema's number one thing, is not being forced to, from the rigid lifestyle. Given that Riley's always interested in finding new exotic places, I think whichever one of these might be, let me flip over to the cluster page, somewhere that would meet that. Do we have one that would be?
Well, I mean, there's back to Deo Thesma for us. Ferron, Ferron 50, we've ruled out at this point because you're worried about the syndicate. Iota B7,
what about the place that the Carpenters were from? That would
Fertility.
be yeah.
Okay. So this is a run to Fertility. And Marv explains that he has a very well connected and rich contact in Fertility. That's the system. I've forgotten what the world is called. Zandora. Yeah. And it's a live cargo. Okay. And cut to a warehouse in the Undercity. And there's I guess it's probably a couple of meters high, a couple of meters wide, and maybe 3 meters long. A cargo container, but it's very clear as we kind of see it that it's got ventilation holes cut in the sides of it, and Marv explains that that this is for transport to Zandora, and the reason that it's not strictly legal is that technically you need an export license to move this kind of animal. Yeah. And he kind of flips through a kind of data pad and flips the data over to Riley's data pad or whatever else you've got to read it on. And he says, this is not entirely a real permit. So, you might not want to rely on it entirely.
I understand, yes.
Okay. And the way this works is that this is going to earn you three units of wealth, because credits work for you, but this is a bigger unit of wealth. He will give you one now, and you will receive 2 more on delivery. Yeah. The thing is, you do kind of need to make sure that the animal stays sedated, because the container is fine. Don't worry about it; it'll be fine. But you do kind of need to not. You don't want it to be fully awake. Okay.
Don't feed the animals.
Are there instructions or supplies for?
Yeah. And on the back of on the kind of short side, one of the short sides of the ends is the word I'm looking for. On the end of the cargo container, you can see that there are a couple of packs. And he says, "You see, look, so this is the sedative, and this is the liquid feed, and there's some kind of nozzle inside, I guess, that it just feeds from whenever it's hungry or thirsty or whatever, and there's tubes connect, and you can see the sedative is connected to the food supply and the water supply, and so as it's fine, and every so often there's down here, he says, there's a little locker on the side of the container. There's spare bags of sedative, spare bags of nutrient. There's enough in there for a week and a half. You should have no trouble. It's a week and a half. You should be at Zandora within a week and a half, no trouble. But if the animal is not kind of in good condition on arrival, I can't guarantee payment at that end, okay?
Well, that seems reasonable. Yeah.
Any questions from Gemma?
No, I think she's just probably imagining some hyper rich person's. She's probably thinking in terms of like the illegal pet trade, right? Like this is somebody smuggling a lemur into the United States for somebody's pet or something like that, right? But obviously much larger.
Yeah, yeah. A lemur
something in that
fits
vein,
in
so,
a 6 foot by 6 foot by 10 foot container. Yeah, exactly so. Exactly so. And maybe
tiger that they're somebody's tiger that they want.
and he said, look, so I'll just demonstrate because and there's a kind of bang from inside the container. He says, oh, you see now that shows it's waking up. So now what we do, and he just shows you, so you type this in to the panel and you hit this button here, and you can see, we see some colored liquid moving from the sedative pack into the feed pack. And he says, you know, within 20 minutes, he'll calm down again. Or maybe it's a she, I don't know. We then cut to the tedious business of where are you, where's your shuttle? And we just need to get it there. Okay.
Sounds good.
So how are you going to get it there? What's the plan? Is this just, you know, put it on the back of some kind of sled and just, you know, roll it to the nearest elevator and take it up to the middle city, blah, blah, blah? Is it as simple as that? Riley, what are you thinking? I've added one. Marv's payment to you has now gone into the ship's account.
Cool. So I figure we need to like at least maybe throw a tarp over this thing so that it's not too obvious as it's rolling down the streets.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe just load it onto the back of a hover truck
and roll it. Yeah, because I think probably Helicon with its tech level, we know we don't have anti-gravity, but we know we have you know, high tech. So I think this, you know, whatever a high tech tow truck looks like. Maybe this thing has got some wheels on the bottom. Who knows? But you're dragging it through the neon washed alleys of Hub City. Let me, Gemma, ask you. Are you carrying your combat rifle?
So let me ask ask you a question. Would that be you know, we didn't start out in the, like we were in the, like you said, we kind of landed in a part of the port that's not the, you know, the private marina with all the big space yachts, right, and stuff. Would wandering around the city with a large assault rifle be, it feels like on a more like tame planet, right, that might be a little, so I'm leaning a little bit towards not the armor and not the rifle. She probably has, I mean, that blade she has is concealable, so yeah.
Fine, then because I just wanted to get a feel for whether I might need you to face adversity to get through a police checkpoint or
oh, okay, yeah. No, I think I think we kind of established last time that the armor is not like everyday wear, and that I do think on this particular plan, now on the last place we were, I think the last place was a little bit more like Mos Eisley, it seems like. This is a little bit more like Coruscant, right? So probably, probably it's not kosher to be, you know, wandering around with a large assault rifle of sorts. So
yeah,
now if you're in my neighborhood neck of the woods, it's perfectly kosher to wander around with large assault rifles or whatever. But oh wait, sorry. Sorry.
There's Star Wars is pervasive. I think Coruscant is not a bad pitch for this. Riley, are you filming this?
I'm figuring like I don't have an obvious camera drone out like while I'm trying to make an illegal deal because that I'm savvy enough to know that's likely to scare people off.
No, that's fine. I'm just checking, but clearly they're with you because they just follow you about. So I think then, Gema, let me come to you and ask you to let's see. I think, you're trying to be unobtrusive, I think. So this is face adversity with precision.
All right.
But actually, I should ask, which of you takes charge of trying to make this as unobtrusive? Let me not assume it's Gema. Which of you, because it might be the person who's got the highest precision is the person who kind of takes charge.
I assume that's also Gamma.
Yeah, it is. Yes. Okay. So Gema, you roll with precision +2. Just to see how the trip back to the ship goes. Ooh, close to the thing. You get one thing you want to achieve, but the GM fully enacts existing dangers or introduces new ones. We know that you're not going to attract official issues, but I don't see why I shouldn't drift cyberpunk and have you followed by a gang. So a street gang is following you as you make your way through the back alleys of the Undercity to avoid drawing any attention. You are conscious, Gema, of a gang of youths, street gang following you. What's your advice, Gema, to Riley?
I think my advice is, so I'll say, hey, don't look, but we've attracted some unofficial attention. If whatever happens, just keep moving back to the shuttle. But at this point, I think Gema's just keeping her eye open, but she's basically telling Riley, if I drift off to deal with this, just get the, I'll meet you back at the shuttle. So.
All right. Are we gonna have a problem or is it still under control?
I don't know. We'll see. Right now, I think we're fine. There's we've just picked up a bit of it looks like we've picked up a bit of attention, and so I'll feel better when we get up a couple levels. So.
I mean, it sounds like Gema's prepping for an issue. Are you content with that, Riley, or do you want to take a different approach to this?
Well, if we think we can get out cleanly, let's do it. But if we're gonna run into someone, I'm just as inclined to do it with bluster and friendliness.
Okay, just checking, because I was just looking at the impress. Now, I will remind you each that you both have an improvement to take. So if this is a good time to look at improvements,
that's right. I forgot about that.
It will cost you 5 of those XP you earned last time, and basically you have 2 kinds of improvements. One kind is related to your stats. So if you have a stat of 2 or more, then that opens up some improvements. But also you have some that are tied to your career experience. The kind of stuff that you've always been able to do this, but we've just never seen it on screen before.
All right. I think Gema's going to take the martial arts one that comes with precision +2.
Okay, if you select that from the drop down. Any thoughts, Gray, for Riley? Or, I mean, you can delay. I just thought if something's going to kick off, you might want to think about.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be helpful in this encounter, but I'm leaning towards the influence one contacts because that seems appropriate for my situation.
That's cool, isn't it?
I'm not entirely sure what the seek the truth move is, but the idea that like I know someone in most places who I can ask for information seems.
I think that's something that hasn't caught up with this iteration of the playtest. So I think that's seek advantage.
Aha.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to take that.
And then if you erase 5 of your XP, that's fine and dandy.
Cool. So I write this somewhere on my character sheet.
Below your current skills, you'll find I just realized how small those shapes are there.
I see it.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. I think that's big enough for everybody to see it. Okay. Remind me about them because I will forget. So it looks like Riley is not going to try and impress these people with, do you know who I am? So Gema, what do we see Gema doing as the gang? The gang is clearly interested. There's a very big container and just 2 people. Why would they not take it? What do you do, Gema?
Yeah, so I think so I guess maybe what we see is it started with maybe one of them, you notice, but then you see another one and another, there's a handful and they're kind of moving to you put like surround, and
I think what brings it to a head is when you see 2 of them come round a corner ahead of you. So you've got 2 in front and the others have fallen in kind of behind.
And so I think Gemma's approach is, and we're still in the neon washed kind of rougher part of, so less chance of attracting official, like if we have some sort of confrontation higher up in the city, that's obviously going to so I think at this point, she's probably a little more perceptive of all of this stuff than Riley, just in general. And I think she just says, I'll deal with this. And I think she's just going to kind of, move forward to the 2 that are, in front, and I think she'll also pull her cowl off. So it's, if they do happen to know what she is, they will see that. And I think she's just going to march right up. And I think she'll just be very blunt and say, I think she's just going to say, are we going to have a problem?
And I think that is where we'll take our first break, because that seems to me to be the perfect place at which anyone would cut an episode. So shall we say 10 minutes for this first one so I can go make a cup of tea? I will pause the recording. Okay, we are back. And we left it with Gema challenging a street gang about, are they going to have a problem? And I think that inevitably we will have that again, because he would always start the next segment with that phrase. And I think what happens is that we see each of the street gang, we see a length of chain drop out of their sleeves. And the woman who leads them says, not if you let us have the container, my friend. Riley, where are you when this is happening? Are you at the front of the container where you can see Gema? Are you at the back of the container so it's between you and them? or are you to one side or the other of the container?
I think I have been to one side helping sort of maneuver it along. But when I see that this is about to go down, I think I actually scramble up on top of the container where I can see what's going on and be perhaps out of the range of
a chain. Okay. And there, as I said, there were 2 in front that Gema's got the challenge, and there are 3 or 4 that have been falling in behind you. And as you scramble up onto the top of the container, Riley, they will begin to approach the container. Gema, you are going to have a problem unless you give up the container.
Okay. I'm trying to decide between whether this is more of a vanguard move moment or just a straight up combat move with seizing control, or just a straight up combat.
I think the bottom line is, do you want to take them out by doing harm to them, or do you want to try and set stuff up so you might have some narrative advantage? I think that, for me, that's what I think I'm seeing as the fundamental difference.
Yeah, so I do think, you know, while she's prone to violence, she's not, you know, so I think I'm going to, so what I'd like to do is try to move more towards a suppressing of the threat versus all out and out bloodshed if it can be avoided. So, you know,
I think I'm going to treat them as 2 threats, one in front and some behind. Riley, I don't. Do you imagine that there's some kind of hand controller for moving this this flatbed?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay. Let's have it run through your data pad, because you've got so you're remotely piloting this. Gema, let's have you roll the vanguard move there.
Okay.
This sounds like forcefully seize control.
Yeah, so I think narratively what she wants to attempt to do, just to set the stage before the roll, is her idea would be is she's going to attempt to, you know, make some sort of quick move, and the one that spoke, who she's going to gather might be some, so she's going to try to cut in and move, and you know, kind of, you see where maybe gets a hold of her, you know, and has her knife, you know, to take, like that kind of thing, to say, hey, now, you know, let's all back off and stuff. So
let's see how this goes.
Out and out putting that blade through her throat. It's really more just.
I think I'm going to put you at disadvantage because there are 2 of them, and you've just described taking one of them hostage. So roll the 3 dice and take the bottom 2. Okay. But then
so let me ask this question. So the martial arts improvement says, when fighting in close quarters, ignoring all but the most extreme disadvantage during hand-to-hand combat. Would that come into play here?
I think I'll give you that. No, I think that's fair.
Okay. And so I guess it doesn't matter. I'm +2 on force as well as precision. So it doesn't really matter on that. Yeah. So, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. When my internet blipped, let me see if it's working.
Oh no, it's not working. I'm not seeing that 10. Okay, so 10.
Did it roll? Did it roll?
Oh, yeah,
yes.
So I got 5 and then 7. So I
wish I could convince you it didn't, but that did indeed roll. So you choose 2 tactics. So suppress a threat for now. So I think that I will go with the fact that you grab one of them, and you're threatening to kill them in effect. What do you want your other benefit to be?
So block exit and entries doesn't, I don't know if that makes sense to me in this particular unless you.
I don't think it does. I don't think it does.
Moving people in or out. I think what she's going to do is she's going to grab her and hold her. So it's like, hey, let's everybody just stay calm. And she's going to holler, Riley, keep moving, get moving. So that maybe would be the moving people in and out. Maybe.
Yeah. So I think that what this does is to get the container beyond the blockage that these people presented. You have one of them, in your control, and the other one is looking dangerous. And the 4 that were behind the container are coming up on you. So you've got 5 antagonists and 1 held around the neck. Riley, you've gone past Gema and around a corner. Do you keep going, Riley?
I'm gonna wait for Gema to catch up.
Okay, so you're past the blockage, but there are still 5 of them, Gema. I think I need you now. You have suppressed the threat for now. That gave you the chance to get Riley a bit of headroom. I think we are now about. I think this is about either seek opportunity, or face adversity. What approach do you take? You're threatening them, aren't you? Back off, or I kill this person.
Yeah, I think ultimately what Gema is trying to do is just make this go away, right? Like I think she does not want to have this devolve into rote violence.
Okay.
She knows enough about herself that once it starts, she won't stop, right? And so
I think that this is the threat of the use of violence. And this isn't you lying to people. This is you are prepared to kill this person if they don't back off. So I think this is when you use might or violence as your leverage, roll plus force.
Okay.
I'm going to give you advantage because you went after the woman who spoke to you.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having a little, goodness gracious. There we go. 1, 2, 3.
Ooh, just as well.
All right. So 9 with the force. So yeah.
You get one thing you wanted to achieve, so they do back off the 5 on a 7 to 9, but the GM fully enacts existing dangers or introduces new ones. Riley, what do you do when 2 other gang members jump off a fire escape onto the top of the container?
I'm gonna start with look, you guys don't want this container. You don't know what's in here. It's like biologically dangerous. I mean, we're gonna have to wear special equipment to deal with this. You really don't want to mess with this thing.
When you speak persuasively, roll plus influence.
All right. So that is an 8.
So on an 8,
we're killing it in the 7 to 9s today, aren't we?
You are. Hang on, I do need to just change that because it is freaking me out that it says seek the truth when you seek opportunity. Now it should say that in your move. Okay, or it will do in a moment. Sorry, contacts when you seek opportunity. There we are. Okay, so let's have you. You get what you wanted. I think that's what it says. You describe how they will see you as intended as soon as you give them something they want. They're going to want something else then. If you want to back down, Riley. Yeah, Riley. And they say, okay, we'll make it worth my while, says one of them. And of course, they're on either end of the container with you in the middle. So I'm seeing you look in both ways. And one of them looks over the edge and says, what's this stuff? What's this locker?
You don't want to mess with that. That's like dangerous biologicals. I don't even touch it.
Dangerous is valuable. What make it worth my while then? And of course, both of them take half a step towards you. So they will back down, but you're going to have to give them something.
I remember my pockets. Can I just like pull out some credit chits and like throw them back up where they came from?
I think that's fine. Reduce your credits to 0, and I will happily have them jump up onto the fire escapes where they leapt down from to go and collect the money. Do you still stay or do you move away?
I'm going to get this thing rolling a little bit so that it's less of an easy target.
Because of course it doesn't move it moves at walking pace probably.
Right. I'm going to radio to Gema on the comms like, how's it going back there?
Gema, cut back to you. How's it? They're backing off. The question now becomes, if you let her go, will they not pursue you? I think that's the question that you're faced with. That's the choice you have to make.
So I think so Gema sees them backing off, and is kind of like, it's like, right. So we all get what we want here. And I do think I think she's going to be like, our new friend, and I'm referring to the person I'm holding, is just gonna help, is gonna escort us to our shuttle, and then everybody will be fine. Nobody has to. We don't have to. Are these just like thug-like gangs, yeah, or are they in a? They're not something. They're not like a group that we would potentially even be aware of. They're just sort of like okay.
No, they're a street gang. They're an inconvenient street gang. And so what, are you going to back off around the corner with this woman?
Yeah.
Young woman.
Yeah, and I don't think we can, since we're moving at a walking pace, kind of like backing off and then pushing around and then taking off isn't going to work, I think, because we're still just like cruising along. So I think we're just going to kind of keep her with us.
Riley is a technical whiz. Maybe Riley can get this thing into a top gear.
That's a good idea. I think once Gema is round the corner and can keep a little bit more of an eye out for new assailants, I'm going to start tinkering and see if I can turbocharge this space truck.
There's probably some cutouts in the software that just stop the little motors on each of the 6 wheels going above a certain rate. But you could probably do that. So when you judge tech or structures, does that a flaw or weakness? No, I don't think so. I don't think that doesn't feel like it works to me. I think we're probably going to end up back at a basic move when the time comes. But yeah, so Gema, you have bought time. As long as you have their leader, you are safe, right? You have suppressed the threat. And Riley's saying, I'm just trying to get this thing to speed up. So at which point it will be very difficult for you to keep up, Gema, and keep a hold of the leader. Yeah, because you're backing away from these people. Once, if Riley can really get this thing up to a decent run, then that's going to get quite tricky for you. So Riley,
okay, so she's younger, right? So yeah, she's kind of
they're all 18-year-olds.
Yeah. And so I think as Riley's getting that thing, I asked, what's your name?
Well, that's an interesting approach. I'm thinking, why would she give you her name? When you socialize and listen, roll plus influence, Gema. Just how friendly do you sound?
I don't think I have any. I'm not very good at sounding friendly, so we'll see how this turns out.
Oh no, -1. Oh yeah, right. Okay.
6.
Okay.
I was like, finally, I naturally rolled a 7, and then it.
So you shoot for friendly and come out menacing.
I think I'm being very friendly, of course. I haven't put my blade in your throat. How much more friendly do you need?
Yeah, a 6-. You become tangled in a bad situation and can't back out. Let's see the nature of that bad situation by just cutting back to Riley, and having you, I think, probably interface or experiment facing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, so that's if you face adversity with mind. I think you've got a data pad that is of a similar tech. So I was going to let you roll with advantage. You want to roll the 3rd dice.
Cool.
Oh yeah. So you know, this thing, you just sail through the safeties, and Gema behind you, as you're having this conversation with this young woman, you can hear the kind of the grinding of gears as, and then Riley hits the button. And
then all of a sudden I'm alone.
That's the bad situation, Gema. As Riley makes an escape, you would be able to run and catch it because I think you probably have the athleticism to do that. But right now, they've come around the corner. They see the container making a quick exit. The 2 folk who jumped down off the container, who've now retrieved Riley's money, say, "Hey, they got money! They got money! They got cred!" And the girl kind of looks sideways at you, says, "3 of them would probably knife me themselves." The 2 on the fire escape drop down to the alley behind you, Gema.
So now at this point, I don't have a free avenue to run.
No. There are 2 behind you and 5 in front of you, plus the one that you have in a headlock. But that's your options. All go up. I'm up for a rooftop chase.
Yeah, so I think Gema assesses the situation, and then says to her, "Well, I guess it's your lucky day," and shoves her at the 2 that were closest, and then jumps up on, she's going to jump up onto grab a hold of and then head up to the, her goal would be is to up into the rooftops and then to follow. So.
I think I'm going to say that this is the Vanguard move again. Only this time I think it is coordination, because this is about kicking her and jumping and getting into a good position. So I think this is a roll plus mind, no advantage or disadvantage.
All righty. I do not believe I have any mind bonus, so. We'll see if the dice just want me to get into some form of combat tonight. 8.
8. So you choose 2, but someone involved will suffer. The GM will offer you the choice of a sacrificial pawn once your decisions are made.
Okay. So move people. So I think
that people could be you.
Yes. The moving people in and out. So I think, I get up. So if it makes sense, so getting up onto the fire escape or whatever we're talking about, that there. And then I get 2, right?
You get 2.
I think then does it make it? So tell me if this makes sense or not. Like, if then she, you know how like, I'm thinking like in the movies, fire escapes have like those ladders that come down or whatever. Like, I'm thinking on the blocking exit or entry, maybe she just kicks that thing off so they can't get up after her. So that, and then starts to scramble up to the roof.
I think that's fine. So you are going to get away. There's no question. But this is when you discover that she has a gun as well as that chain, and she fires indiscriminately up at you. And at that point, just as someone is, you're on that fire escape, and you're about to jump across, somebody opens a window, and shot in the head. Sacrificial pawn, dead. But Gema, you are home free. Let's cut back to Riley. Can you, hold the tail of the tiger? So let's have you try to just control this. Now you've unleashed the beast.
Just careening around the streets, like banging into every trash can.
I think that's what we're seeing. I think we won't make you roll. I think we just have that description of, as it slews around. Oh no, I do want to roll, and I'll tell you why depending how it goes. So I think this interface or face adversity with interface or experiment, roll plus mind. I am going to make it disadvantage because this thing is moving and at an unfortunate rate. So roll the third dice and take the bottom two.
All right. So I rolled a 2 and a 5, and the third die is a 3. So that's a 2 and a 3. Plus my mind of 2 makes 7.
Okay, you get one thing you want, but GM. Okay, but as you slew round one corner, that kind of locker on the back that has the replacement sedatives and food packs. I think it takes a very bad knock as you slew around a corner. Maybe it hits a corner, and so that is going to be a problem. I think is the way I'm seeing that happen. But that's when Gema leaps off a fire escape, having gone, the short route around this corner, and lands next to you. What do you say when you land, Gema?
I think she lands, gets up, and just kind of brushes herself off, and just kind of, I think she's just going to kind of nod with she's got a little wry smile, and then,
and Riley, you guide this to the elevator, the freight elevator that will take you up to the middle city and to your landing pad.
As I do so, I make some joke together. So I was thinking we could actually stick around, stop for noodles.
Because and cut back to the noodle salesman who is kind of shaking his fist at you, having banged into his noodle stand. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I also he's shaking his hand, but then we see there, like in the shows, you see this little cutscene, and you see the sedative bag or one of the bags like leaking out or whatever, right? Because we're all like fat, dumb, and happy. We think we're all that, and we're home free, and then you see this little foreshadowing piece of,
corner of the locker. You can see a crack in it, and liquid is dripping out of it. Yeah. Brilliant. Cut back to loading it onto the shuttle. The shuttle has a standard cargo container which slots into the cargo slot on the Ace, and this will easily fit in there. And do you want to do anything else in Hub City, Riley?
Not that I know of.
Okay, Gema. Okay.
No, I think we knew, because I think we also knew that it takes about a week to get through the slipgate. We kind of are like, there's not a lot of time.
Yeah.
To I'm assuming we are unaware at this point of the damage to either the food or the sedative, but we know that we had a tight window to get the thing there. So
yeah. Cut back to aboard the Ace. And I think what I want to do now, because we've not used this yet, but I'm curious about using when you fly between two in-system zones or locations, roll plus drive, to see whether you encounter anything on the trip out. I don't think I'm going to use that for every transit in system, but I am curious to see it used. So I think that we used Riley to roll with hospitality to try and get a job. Let's have Gema roll plus drive, and drive is a big fat 0. Oh, you are muted.
sorry, this is just our approach to the gate, right? Like we're back in the ship and then,
From,
so I think
from hub to the gate, yeah.
okay.
I'm
So
going to suppose that the Zandoran gate is in the outer system.
okay.
So you need to travel to the outer system. Let's see if anything crops up en route.
Okay, so that's no bonus because we don't have any. Okay.
Oh, will you look at that? A pair of 6s on 10 plus. So what is it? On 7 plus, each crew member rolls for cramped quarters, then you choose one. You encounter a ship or hulk that's not in any database. You encounter something else. On 10 plus, roll for cramped quarters is either at advantage or the encounter is not dangerous or hazardous. So there's some choices, Gema. Do you want to encounter a ship or hulk that's not in any database, or do you want to encounter something else? I tell you what, I'm going to ask Riley that question because Riley is the curious one.
I think
something else.
Something else.
Okay, so there is something else. You are both going to roll for cramped quarters with advantage in a moment, or the encounter is not dangerous or hazardous. Gema, I'm going to go to you for that one.
So our choice is roll cramped quarters at advantage, or whatever we encounter here isn't dangerous.
Exactly.
I'm going to choose the latter, that whatever we encounter isn't dangerous. And
okay.
Can I? And I'll toss this out there, and Alan, feel free to snuff it or whatever. But maybe it'd be cool if it had a little something to do with Riley's obsession, right? Like maybe it's a little.
I didn't raise that eyebrow when Gray gave me the answer for no reason. Okay, so there is something odd on the scanners on the way to the Zandoran gate. Sorry, Joe, I have now forgotten what you said about 10 plus. The encounter is not dangerous or hazardous, or you're going to roll with advantage.
That the not dangerous or hazardous.
Okay, so you will not roll with advantage. So let's do the cramped quarters first, because it's quite a long trip to the outer system. Let's begin with Riley. Uh, 10, describe how your ongoing task, oh, this is so appropriate, personal project or subject of study is progressing. Briefly touch on aspects that are interesting, frustrating, or rewarding about it, and what comes next. Recover something if there's anything that's damaged. I'm not sure there is.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything that needs recovering.
Okay. Can I put that on the shelf for a moment? Because I think you might want to use the ship scanners to investigate whatever.
Yeah, I think that is going to be an ongoing project.
And that may tell us something. Let's have Gema roll cramped quarters.
All right.
Oh, a 6. Choose a crewmate. Not much choice today. Work together to introduce or expand upon the personal conflict, philosophical disagreement, bad blood, or general aggravation that has developed between you. So what's the fallout maybe from what happened on Hub, Gemma?
So I actually think I'm going to invoke the move that lets me do this for myself. And so I think we're back in the, en route, and I think the conflict, the gang, and all of that reminded her of the bonds that she had with her sisters, and and it's creating some real conflict in her about having left and what she'd left behind, right? That like there was a lot that she didn't like that she left behind, but this part of being isolated like that was you had each other, and the tightness of that bond, and so I think that's where she's starting to have some real conflict about being away.
That's great. That's great. Fine. You don't get to recover anything because it's a 6-. But let's have Riley on the bridge, I suppose, of the ship, checking out what this anomaly that you've spotted in the space between you and the Zandoran gate. I think that is scanners, which is sorry, it should be +2, not +3. So you are rolling with +2 because you invested in some scanners, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That still gets you to 7, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, 7+. You find what you were looking for and choose an obstacle that stands in the way. And this is very similar to the seek opportunity options. So this could be the hint of a leaking slipstream.
I think like, every time we go through the slipstream, I've been like taking readings and observing energy patterns. And so I've hit something on the scanners that like feels similar. So like, we've got to go check that out. I think it's happening.
So that sounds, because what I think we've got here is the combination of these two moves. The first move tells us, the crab quarter move tells us there's not going to be a problem. It's not going to be a hazard. It's not hazardous. But I think what this is telling us is that you want to visit this location and it is potentially hazardous. Yeah. And I think that I am going to invoke your burden. You are going to have to get out of the ship and examine it close up and personal, Riley, I think. So mark your burden as, remember those XP triggers, the pair of you. Keep an eye on those because I will forget. I don't think there is anything that's going to stop you making a spacewalk to examine this thing up close, this area of space up close and personal. Yeah.
I think it could be that Gemma is so absorbed in her whatever she's dealing with too on that poor cramped quarters role that she doesn't even know, right?
She's hanging out in the breaching pod.
Yeah, she's just isolated herself and is just absorbed in her own, isolation too. So
right. So she's not there to tell Riley, this is a terrible idea. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Now, of course, Riley, this raises the possibility you could use the breaching pod to get there. Because you have a +1 breaching pod, you can board at close range rather than just jumping across space.
Yeah. So depending on what this anomaly is when we get there.
And I think that probably what you find from the ship scanners is, and I guess, Gemma, the first thing you will be aware of is when Riley kind of flips the ship, and you get some sense of deceleration rather than that consistent 1G acceleration. 1G to
it probably pops around it like it. I almost get the vision of a scene of her. She's got some old beat up whether it's a photo or something, right, of her and some of her, sisters, right, and then all of a sudden the ship jolts and then it starts riding, and that she probably then breaks her thing and then comes out to see what's going on.
Because you will have been strapped into the breaching pod for that bit of self-analysis, I'm certain, Gemma. So then you head up to the bridge. O'Reilly, do you come down to the breaching pod?
Yeah, I think I am setting out to find Gemma. It's like, great news! This is so exciting! And then just like turn to my camera and like, so this anomaly we found.
Are you both going to go, or is this just going to be Riley?
So out of character, like Harper's with us, so
Yeah,
it wouldn't be if I did go. There'd be somebody to watch the ship. I think for the sake of today and the fact of why not, she'll go with. I just want to be sure that I don't think she'd go if there was no one to watch the ship, right? Yeah. And so,
I mean, there is nothing else on the ship scanners for.
Yeah, and I think she's not confident that Riley knows how to deal with the breaching pod. So
there is that. So I think the way we'll deal with this is that you bring the ship up close. And what's interesting, I think, Riley, what makes this particularly interesting is that this point that you've managed to pick up using your scanners is moving. It's not a static point.
Interesting.
So I think you match velocity and vector with this using the ship. But you don't have to get really close to it. Now, range in space is close is hundreds of meters. I'm thinking that far range is tens of kilometers, and extreme range is 100 kilometers, maybe even. I have not thought it through, but it's not really close.
Mm-hmm.
But the breaching pod is an opportunity to get there. So this is the first time we see you suited up. Great.
So I think we're at +1 for breaching pod.
Yeah. So
I think
you can
close range is where it comes into. So we're gonna have to get at least to close range to. Do we know yet if it's a structure or if it's because we've been scanning this thing?
I think that it's the energy signature that is interested Riley, because that's the slipness of it, the slipstreamness of it that's intriguing. And if it is an object, it is too small to resolve, which is why Riley needs to get up close to it. Seem fair? Okay.
So I guess we could potentially sort of head over there in the breaching pod, and then if I need to spacewalk from there.
Exactly so. So when you breach another ship or structure, well, I don't think rendezvous in this occasion, I think. Pick a system and preferred component. Don't need to do that. We will simply roll plus breaching pod and use that as an indicator of how close you get and maybe what happens on arrival. Yeah. So Gema, you feel, as much as you feel any kind of proprietariness about any bit of the ship, I think the breaching pod you feel is your territory. So I'm going to have you roll +1.
All right.
Oh,
10.
10. 7+, you'll be able to board. So you get up. You are just perfect. There is nothing wrong with this at all. You get really close. So Riley, this means that you may not have to leave, right? You may be able to use your data pad and, maybe you could pop the drones out. I'm going to assume they work just as well in space as they do anywhere else.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start by trying to get as many up close center readings as I can. But it's possible I will be unable to resist the temptation to personally get as close as I can to this thing.
So this sounds like this does sound like examine, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's an anomaly.
a subject. It is such an anomaly. So you're using the feed from your data pad, roll plus mind.
All right.
Wow, you are
12.
just killing this today. On 7+, choose a line of questioning and the GM will elaborate. So
I'm gonna try and understand its cause or origin.
okay, and that is what's freaky, is that this is a microscopically small point. And it appears to be moving. And the thing that's fascinating is that it appears to be, it has a material readout like the precursor structure that makes up a slipgate. We know that these structures predate human spaceflight in the cluster, and they are made of materials or combinations of materials that humanity has tried to replicate, but it is a tiny fragment of material, of precursor material. Let's call it that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I also noticed that your hazmat drone is capable of collecting samples.
Oh no, you don't say. What are you thinking, Riley?
Yeah, I think once I get all of the data about this thing, if I think this is just a chip of material and not, I don't know, a tiny wormhole, I might try and scoop it up with my hazmat drone, run some more analysis.
Well, that sounds like, unless you've got a specialist move to do it with, when you pilot or use machinery, roll plus hardware.
Indeed.
So
right.
I think we see that, you know, because you're suited up, there's no kind of need. The assumption is that you will be opening this to vacuum. In fact, probably you open it to vacuum before you launch it at anything. So I think we see, you know, the kind of, well, you tell me what we see. How does that, I'm not going to do this. How does the hazmat drone get out?
So I think, that's a good question. Because like a fully fledged science ship probably has like a mini airlock that's used for this sort of thing. But this is just a breaching pod. So I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically a rocket-powered covered sledge.
Yeah, so I think it probably has some systems meant to manage like the thing you're breaching may or may not be pressurized. So I think we probably just suit up and depressurize the breaching pod and then pop out one end.
As the drone uses some reaction mass just to head towards this thing. And we've not really paid much attention to the hazmat drone yet. What does it look like?
So I'm picturing that it's sort of but mostly it's got like a container for shielded storage, and then it's got some maneuvering thrusters and maybe some basic sensors.
And does the
drill or a scoop on one end that sort of picks things up and puts them in the storage?
A couple of little tools, manipulators, and on your data pad, we're getting the point of view from the front of the drone, and you've superimposed on your data pad the readings that tell you where it is because it's too small to see.
Right.
And so fine, you know, the hazmat drone. And has matched it. It's now around it. The little kind of container box-like bit at the bottom of the drone is now around the point in space. The hard decision you have to make, Riley, is if you now close the front of the container and move the drone, will this thing continue with its current velocity and vector and punch a hole in the, or not, in the side of your drone, or will it come back all nice and cozy?
Well, I think I need to find out.
Oh, yes.
I've studied everything I can about this thing up until now. So
Okay.
either I'll bring it
Okay.
home to look at, or I'll find something out about it.
Okay. Well, I can't but think that this is rolling with mind, because I think this is more about just, if you move it slightly, what happens to the reading? When it comes up, when you just match it, so it's literally against the wall of the hazmat container, and you just nudge it slightly. Do you see any deflection in its location, or is it its vector? So I think this is interface or experiment, roll with mind.
All right, here we go. All right, so that is an 8.
That is an 8. You get one thing you want. Do you want to bring it back?
What I want most is knowledge about it.
Oh yeah, and really, if you could get this back to the workshop, where all your equipment is,
That would be amazing.
Here with a data pad and a hazmat drone, for God's sake. What can you learn using that? Do you want to bring it back?
Yeah, I want to bring it back. Into
the breaching pod?
Sure, why not? That's how we get it back on our ship.
Exactly. How else could you get it back? The GM fully enacts existing dangers or introduces new ones. I would like to keep that on the shelf, if I may. I am going to introduce a new danger that involves this thing, but I can't quite yet narratively see why I should tell you what that is now. So it does. You gently need to nudge it, but it does seem like it responds when it encounters the side of the hazmat drone. It does begin to divert. You are able to move it in your direction and bring it back on board. That worked very well. That would seem to me to be the logical place to take a break until 10 past the hour. Yeah? Okay, back from our last break. So, cut to workshop, Riley. Both of you in the workshop. There's the hazmat drone sitting on the workbench. What happens next, Riley?
So I think I'm going to take one more set of readings to see, is this thing radiating energy or anything, and then I'm going to try and transfer it to a container that I can do more tests in.
Okay. I don't have a problem. I don't make you roll for that. I don't think you need to do any more readings at this point. This is going to become a project, I think, and we might well invent a clock for it. I don't know. But yeah, what I'm seeing is that the hazmat drone kind of mates to what has to be a clear perspex container. And maybe we just see the hint of something tiny against a bright background, just, drifting out into this box where it is contained, and where you can begin to do analysis on it. And I think we probably will see you with some lenses just zooming, and it is a tiny, it's probably 1 millimeter across. And it's unclear to you whether it is currently radiating this slip energy, or whether it is a conduit for slip energy, or whether this material just, that's.
Yeah.
But I think if we pair this up with the downtime move for cramped quarters, describe how your ongoing task, personal project is blah, blah, blah. I think I'm inclined to invent a clock. I can't even remember if the first edition of this game has clocks, but it does seem to me logical that we would have a clock with, I think I want to put let's think, we've got what, 5 sessions left. I think I want to put a 4-segment clock, and every cramped quarters will give you a chance to impact on that clock.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. I'll find a way to display that in the character keeper before next time. So that's what you discovered on the journey to the Zandoran Gate. Cut to the Zandoran Gate. Maybe I'm using cramped quarters too often, but it does seem to me you now have a week in a wormhole that ought to give you a cramped quarters roll. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I'm not going to do that. That's we're resorting to that same move too often. That would be what, 3 times in this session. I think that's one too many. I think I'm going to use judgment about when I want to use cramped quarters, whether it's in real space or yeah, I need to think about that. Because maybe the cramped quarters should only go on inside the gate. I don't know. Let's say we've had 2 cramped quarters today, 1 on the way in, 1 on the way out. That's enough. And pop out into the Zandoran system, the system called Fertility. And how will this be different? This is the tech level of the planets here. Of the planet is well below cluster norms, but it has an implausibly rich number of garden worlds. So with the support of the authority, I think the Zandoran civilization has spread to several of these garden worlds, all in the Goldilocks zone. So orbits are very close. But the technology is well below cluster norms. So I think that the slip station here is going to be big on fuel, but low on anything else. And the kind of the docking station around the planet is similarly going to be very narrow focused. It's narrow focused on shipping goods in and shipping foodstuffs out. Yeah, that seems to me to fit.
Yeah, I like that. Like, it's not ratty like the one at that other place, but it's sparse, utility, and maybe old,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's so
Right, like
Yeah.
all the consoles are 10 years out of date.
Yes, because it doesn't need to do very much. Now, I think that might, depending on how you come at this, put you at some advantage when you dock at the station, because of course there will be some inspection of cargo, unless you can convince them to walk away, and you do have, a reason to transport this. But I think that the consequence of the damage to is that this thing is awake. Yeah. So rather than
We're out of sedatives.
I think you're out of sedatives. I'm not going to have it break free on board the ship. That doesn't make sense given the nature of the ship. But it is, you can hear a tail kind of bang, bang inside, and maybe. And I guess under normal circumstances, we might have expected Riley to have paid a bit of attention to what it was, but far more interesting things to do, I think, Riley, than that. So how do we approach customs inspection then? Because I think all of that is handled in orbit. Riley, what are you thinking? Because you're the thinker of this pair. Harper probably wants to just say, "Oh, we'll just tell him it's produce. It's just stuff." But I think, Riley, you have a rather more thoughtful view of the world than that. So what's your thinking?
I feel like Harper would have the skills to, I don't know, hack the customs inspection system, but
yeah, it does feel like he would be able to do that. But because this is relatively low tech, I'm not sure the system is easy to interface with.
It's true. Maybe they're like working with paper.
Yeah, that's what, I was just gonna say that like there's a dude shows up with a clipboard and stuff.
Yeah.
I think so. because the Zandorans have, they control their own airspace, if you like, but they do it using they don't have high tech. They maintain it as best they can. There's maybe a couple of authority techs who look after it, but you wouldn't, you put low tech systems in. So yeah, clipboard is what we're looking at.
I almost get a sense of, Gemma, you have, or not, Gemma, I'm Gemma. Sorry, Riley. We have that like sort of
like that fake permit.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like I gotta get a sense of, I'm seeing the scene of your wheeling and dealing.
Well, hang on, Joe. Before you set the scene, let me ask Gray to do that, because I think this is their bit of spotlight. So Gray.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to try and do here is, with this dodgy permit, I'm also just going for oh, well, this is clearly part of my new science show. You know me, I'm like that person with that great science show. I mean, several science shows. Anyway, we're importing this lovely specimen so that we can put on this exhibition, for the kids. You have kids that they like to go to the science center. Well, science is great.
I love it. I love it. Let's have you roll to impress, because you are definitely trying to speak persuasively here, aren't you? So
yes.
Roll with influence.
All right.
I think because you say we've got the permit here, I'm just
trying to get them to not pay too much attention to it.
Yeah, I think I'll let you roll with advantage. If this goes badly, they check the permit, I think.
All right. Okay. So a 6 and a 2 and plus my mind of 2, that is a 10.
Describe how they see you and how they feel about you.
All right. I think so. They buy my cover story, I think.
Yeah.
I imagine there's some element of oh yeah, those high-tech outsystem people, they think we're just a bunch of backwater yahoos, but we know about science here, obviously.
I think I've seen your show. I think we have it on the television.
Oh, lovely.
So yeah, sure. It's kind of noisy though.
Yeah. You know how these things are. You start at one end of the wormhole and everyone's calm. By the end, everyone's just hangry and cranky.
And you can see him thinking, gosh, I wish I could get, because the only people who will work up here are the adventurous Zandorans, the ones who are interested in this kind of stuff, or the ones who can't get a job on the farms. And so he is, I think he's at the can't get a job on the farms. He's a little weedy, maybe. He's not good at manual labor, hates the outdoors. He's a real misfit down there. But up here, oh wow, one day I might get to travel through the wormhole. Wow. Oh really? Is that what happens? Oh wow. You get through customs. So you can take the shuttle down to the surface, where you can hopefully deal with whatever is happening down there. Now, I am inclined, I hope you feel I'm not cheating here, but I think that that's a good place to break, actually, with you landing, because the three of you will be back next time. Because I think this is going to lead to something, is my feeling. There's going to be some complication when you get in there. That I think if we open the box on that now, I don't think I've got long enough to get anywhere significant. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I was just thinking that the way you're describing it, these guys are this is like the Shire of the cluster. These are the hobbits.
Yeah. Only as and I'm not going to try and do it. We know that a significant number of them have a deep southern drawl. Y'all. So yeah, no, that was embarrassing. I'm sorry. Okay.
Well, you're not going to get any better from us. So
okay. So we do our stars and wishes for this series offline. So I'm going to, well, I tell you what, let's do stars and wishes for the play online, because I think I think there was some great stuff today that I want to keep for posterity. And then we'll do a little debrief afterwards in terms of how we thought the rules went. Stars and wishes. Let's start with Gray. Any stars?
I really like some of the downtime that Riley and Gema got to spend together and how we learned more about where Gema came from. And I liked our escapade in the Undercity as well.
Any wishes for next time, particularly in terms of where we go?
Not off the top of my head. Oh, I also like to get into some cool science.
Okay. Joe, any stars, any wishes?
No, I had a blast. I'm in 3 games right now, and this by far is my favorite. And I don't know if it's what it is, but this has just been, and it just keeps getting, I'm just gonna say it just keeps getting kind of better. I don't know if we're getting more comfortable with each other and the set, but I absolutely love the story. I just thought that it was so, and you know, all the 7 to 9s we got, like felt like exactly how a TV show of this would go, right? Like we're this scrappy crew that gets by the skin of our teeth, right? Like how many roles did we have that were like failures, but our +1 or our +2 took us over, right? Like we were just barely getting by on our wits and our luck and whatnot. And I actually really enjoyed I have to admit, I get a little, I don't know the right word, self-conscious or anxious at sort of the downtime, like the cramped quarter styles of moves. But it was I enjoyed it a little more than I thought I would. How about that? So I enjoyed that, and so and I like that was the perfect word, Gray. The escapades, right? This was again, this was an episode of a show I would definitely watch. So I and Alan, thank you again for guiding us through it. You're doing a masterful job at that. And wishes will be, I am very interested to see where we go with this science project, right? Like, and how that, understanding more about what that means and stuff like that. So I think that's pretty, I'm intrigued by that. So
no, so am I. And what I think I'm seeing here, and star to you for this one, Gray, is I think that you are defining the kind of series arc with the science project, and then as you would expect in a TV series, every episode then has a slight focus on something that may get us that way, get us a bit further down that road, but equally may just be a little bit of an escapade on the journey. My stars, I want to give both of you a star for the downtime. The downtime at the start I thought was really nice. The way that conversation got going, and it means that Riley gets to fix their drone. I thought that was delightful. And the second one, I'm still struggling with when I want to use the cramped quarters, but we still ended up with something that kind of worked. It did feel like the fates were conspiring on our side. Next time it'd be great to have Pavel back, because I think there's a lot of them. When you've only got 2 players, the 2 of you have to work hard to keep the narrative rolling, and I think once we've got 3 again, that it just gets a little bit easier. There's a bit more rest in the system for each of you, and in fact for me. So great, I love that. So let us just I will stop the recording there.